U.S. That was 1919. Assuming a 5% cost of living adjustment, which takes into account inflation, that 165,000 in today's dollars would be equivalent to 17,850,758. This is the type of economic power Mr. Garvey had created. And we're talking cash. Initially, when they offered the stock, it was capitalized at 500,000. They were able to match that in 3 months. So then he upgraded it to $10 million. $10 million in 1919 is worth $1,081,864,103. This is the type of economic strength that Garvey had created. Okay. One of the things, you have to understand, telegraphs are there, telephones are there, but in terms of mass media, there is no such thing. Mr. Garvey is completely cognizant of the fact that media is incredibly important. I believe if Mr. Garvey were alive today, he would have probably created Facebook. That's the type of genius we're talking about. One of the things that he does is printing. Once he became an apprentice printer and then a master forming printer, as soon as he gets into the United States, after 2 days, after recovering from the flu, he becomes a printer again. So what he does is to generate interest, he goes out and does a 38 historic tour. He visits 38 states of the United States. Granted, in those days, there were only 48 states. So basically, he did practically 75–80% of the United States. What he does is he produces these billboards, he announces them everywhere. Then he says things like, come and see the greatest West Indian speaker. And then many people come for whatever reason. They are so blown away. They've never heard anything like this. So Garvey slowly, after 1916, builds the organization. And mind you, when Mr. Garvey comes to the United States, he did not have any intentions of staying here. He was here for 5 months to do a tour, raise funds, and create an industrial school institute similar to Tuskegee. In fact, it's while he's in England when he reads Up From Slavery, Booker T. Washington's book, and he realizes, this is it. You gotta pick yourself out of bootstraps. Cast your bucket down where you are. Don't worry about the fantasy or fiction. It's not happening.
That's right.
That's where you are, you make the best of it. And this is the type of self-reliance. The missing ingredient is the race uplift category. That's what Garvey brings. So he does all over the 38 states. He's everywhere he goes. No one's ever heard anything like this. Now let's go back. 1919, he does the stock offering. He's got all those buildings just in Harlem. He's got the economics. By 1922, Garvey's able to employ 1,000 workers just in New York City. He's got a fleet of trucks. He's got everything. The reason why he buys the boat for 2 reasons. The ships are for 2 reasons. Number one is for actual traveling. But Garvey's a true visionary. Well, if you're going to do the economies of scale where you uplift the community, you just can't stay there. You've got to look further. So you've got to be able to go transatlantic. That's why he buys the ship. Because he knows he's going to make this global. At no point in Garvey's mind does he ever not believe this is for the total upliftment and self-reliance of the race. That's why these ships are bought. Now, he is like a surgeon. He's done everything correctly. Look at the steps. Raises the self-esteem of our people. Gives them the sampling that you can do this, that you can build economies, that you can build jobs, you can build factories. He goes out and buys the ship. He creates the Negro Factories Corporation. He's done all of that. What's the last step? You gotta have a coming out party. He says, okay, now we're ready. See, he doesn't party until the work is done. 1920, he goes out and calls out the International Convention of the Negroes. No one has ever seen anything like this, ladies and gentlemen. He's got 25,000 attendees, representing 122 delegates from all over the world. He wants to have the biggest grand entrance the universe has ever seen. He's got Liberty Hall. Liberty Hall only holds 6,000 people. He's got 25,000 people. So where he's got to do it. So he says, we're going to have opening day ceremonies at Madison Square Garden. But there's only one problem. The Madison Square Garden that you know today is not the one that existed then. The Madison Square Garden that existed then was in Madison Square Park on 26th in Madison. That's why they call it Madison Square Garden. It holds 8,000 people sitting. Standing, you have another 3,000. You got 11,000 people. Garvey still has a problem. How does he fit 25,000 people there? Garvey's a mathematician. He uses the concept of operations research, where you have limited resources, so you've got to figure out how to schedule it. So what he does is, from Harlem to 26th and Madison, he does a motorcade. He has it 10 people abreast for 2,500 rows. It takes more than 4.5 hours to go from Harlem at Liberty Hall down to Madison Square Park. He's got his trucks, he's got the horses, the horse carriage. Even the New York Times says, what is this? Who does this guy think he is? How dare you do this? They go down, breast by breast, and when they enter the hall, he announces the first one. The first Duke of the Nile, the second Duke of Uganda, the Earl of Ethiopia. People are going crazy. They've never seen anything like this. They're all dressed in their regalia. You're talking about uplift the race? That's what this was about. Only 11,000 people can fit in the garden. So he does, he keeps recirculating. It looks like there's 1 million people. Everything, nothing's ever been bigger. Nothing has ever been bigger, nothing will ever be bigger. Not for 1 day, not for 2 days, not for 3 days, for 31 consecutive days, 25,000 people meet and discuss like a government in exile. The whole concept of the UNIA was to be a government. He starts it out as an organization, as a grassroots, as a mass organization. But the goal is the government. Because when Garvey's traveling from England back to Jamaica in 1914, he says this and he asks himself, where is the black man's government? Where is his king? His kingdom is army, navy, and his men of big affairs. He doesn't see any of that. And unlike most cowards who punk out, he says, no, I will help create it. That's why Garvey is great. And he sets out single purpose to do this. That's his coming out party, 1920. Nothing's ever been bigger. This is Madison Square Garden. Then, this is the finest scene of our people since we've been departed from Africa. If anybody has ever attended a professional school graduation, like a medical school graduation, the graduates enter as basic peons. They go up and get their diploma. And then the dean of the school says, I hereby declare you physician. There is no better feeling. I attended one and I said, thank you, Lord. This is the finest picture. This is where Mr. Garvey announces to the delegates, August 14th, we are no longer an oppressed group of people. We are a government of the UNIA ACL. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where he reads the Constitution, the bylaws of the UNIA. Those delegates create the second finest document we've ever produced since being departed from Africa. It's called the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World. He starts out with the paragraph. They have 12 complaints, and then they have 54 articles. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Article 39. that the colors, red, black, and green, be the colors of the Negro race. Garvey has done his research. When those fools came out with that song, every race has a flag but the coon, he said, I will create a flag for you. No longer will you be foolish. He chooses red, black, and green. He's read a document that he got from Dr. Love, who got it from Antenor Fime, the finest document we've ever produced as a people. This, I'm going to get to it. Number 40, Article 40, it says, resolved that the anthem, Ethiopia, the land of our fathers, shall be the anthem of the Negro race. When you attend UNIA ACL meeting and we sing that national anthem, let me tell you, every time I sing it, I sing with such pride. Because this was created for us, by us. But more importantly, is Article 49. It says, we demand that instructions given Negro children in schools include the subject of Negro history to their benefit. This is August 13, 1920. Carter G. Woodson, who I started the day off, doesn't create Negro History Week until February 10th, 1926. This is 6 years earlier. So what? Carter G. Woodson wrote for the Negro World, the newspaper of the UNIA. Carter G. Woodson couldn't have created Negro History Week. It was there already. And as part of the Negro World, they had a Black History section. So, at the beginning, I gave full tribute to Carter G. Woodson, but I know the truth. It's right there. That's Article 49, excuse me. Here it is. In this Constitution, his Emperor, Jean-Jacques Dessalines the Great, said that the flag of Haiti shall be red and black. Garvey has done his research. He spent numerous hours and years with Robert Love. Robert Love was a friend, a personal friend of Antenor Fime. This is where those colors come from. In it, what Dessalines says, when he liberated that African nation, he said, no person is worthy of being a Haitian who is not a good father, good son, a good husband, and especially a good soldier, because they understood they would be perpetually denigrated and attacked. So you needed to be a soldier. That was your primary goal. That's Article 39. Everybody should walk around with that. Always have it with you.
That's right. The
red, the black, and the green with the gold trimmings. The red is for the blood that has been shed. The black is for the race. The green is for the land. And the gold that was stolen from us. That's the trimmings.
That's right.
This is Article 40 that we sing with much pride, but in the event of time, I will skip that today. These are scenes from the multiple parades that they've had. This is Mr. Garvey, top left. Bottom right is the African Black Crosses, African Race Black Cross. This is the organization for the women. It wasn't just a man thing. It was men, women, and children. What happened is we met every Sundays at 3 o'clock. After having attended your worship, we just go to UNI. It was a big family event. Look at this picture, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, one thing about God, everything is black. Black crosses, right. Black Legion, African Legion. See this picture? That looks like a disciplined set of people, of men, yes?
Yes.
Doesn't this picture look similar?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you to make the connection. Here it is. Well, if you say race uplift and self-reliance, you can't let your daughters, your black daughters, play with white dolls.
That's
So
right.
you gotta make your own dolls. In doing that, you uplift the race, you ensure self-esteem, and then you hire and employ people. They own both buildings, 36 and 38 West 135th Street. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't figured it out, it's pretty obvious. This was an economic empire. It's simple as that. And it all started because he connected the dots and he said, up you mighty race, accomplish what you will. No. Men who are earnest are unafraid of consequences. Chance has never yet satisfied a suffering people.
That's right.
This is the Black Dolls factory. I don't make this up. People are working, getting paid.
How many people did they hire?
The factory itself, the Black Dolls factory had about 182, but altogether Garvey had hired 1,000 employees just in New York City. These are the 10 buildings in that area. Can you imagine what they're worth today combined? Garvey bought all of these. We're not talking mortgage, cash, US, green dollars. This is the 1922 convention. This is the 1924 parade. That parade has the most amount of pictures because James Vanderzeer, the black photographer, is on the scene. Up until then, it was whoever they could get. But the 1924 parade will have the best pictures. This automobile is owned by UNIA. Everything in the parade is owned by the UNIA. They make their own clothes. They were even making their own shoes. This is when you become self-reliant.
Mm-hmm.
This is ad in their newspapers where it says, patronize your own business. The Universal Steam Laundry, that was on 142nd Street. The tailoring, everything. No, Garvey's done he's done his homework. Okay, now, I've mentioned to you the Black Star Line, but the single most effective marketing material Garvey had was that newspaper, the Negro World. So what? See all these names? Defender, Whip, Messenger, Crusader, Courier, Guardian, Crisis, Emancipator, Amsterdam News. These are all black newspapers. But guess what? You can't tell they're black. They're still playing the bluff, not Garvey. Garvey calls his newspaper the Negro World. That's what we are. We use proclaiming we're black. That's it. All of these. The Defender, the one on top, is generally regarded as the highest, most productive black newspaper. Their weekly subscription was 160,000. I'll even give you 200,000. Garvey's newspaper was 500,000. It's not even close. And here's the funny thing. These people are doing it to make money. They're business people. They have to have advertisement. Garvey's not doing it for money. He's doing it to uplift the race. And he makes money doing it. In those newspapers, let me tell you the difference. If anyone's ever familiar with BET, Black Entertainment Television, these were just like BET. They had progressive elements, but for the most part, it was foolish and nonsense. You know, which black man met with which white woman, produced this mulatto baby, and you know, who's this, who's passing their hair. That's all they had. Every once in a while, they had to have something serious. Garvey comes along. He's got the finest writers. See, they don't even give Garvey that credit. What happens is these are all nonsense newspapers for the most part. Garvey's is serious, intellectual journalism. And he's got I'll show you this. But all of these, together, they didn't even sell 500,000. At one point, Garvey's newspaper was banned throughout the colonial world.
That's right.
In the Panama Canal, when they banned it, you'll never guess who was delivering the newspaper. The Japanese sailors. Why? Race first. They go for that. Race first for you, race first for you, race first for me. I'm not better than you, you're not better than me. I'm going to do my job because I don't have time for nonsense. We've got to uplift and build a whole nation.
That's right.
These other fools, they're talking nonsense. They can't compete. And the thing is, they need advertisement dollars. So one of the biggest things was skin bleachers. They all had it. Negro World. What? I don't need your money. I got my money. I don't need the nonsense. The hair process, the hair straighteners. I got my own money. And that's the whole concept is form your economic independent base. You don't need people. Here it is. When he puts this out, this is a terror to the colonial governments. They do what they can to prevent this newspaper. In the UNIA Trinidad, in Port of Spain division, the whole meeting was reading the newspaper. That was it. TWA, Trinidad Working Men's Association, was a no-nonsense, it was a no-nothing trade union. It was nothing. Garveyites control it, they move it. The TWA becomes the strongest, powerful force in Trinidad. In fact, here's the wildest thing. I think even more unbelievable. Garvey comes in 1916. By 1990, he's got the economic empire. In 3 years, this is incredible. But what I find more incredible, believe it or not, is Trinidad. In 1914, on his way to Jamaica from England, he gets off Port of Spain. He walks around Port of Spain. He's never been there. Doesn't know anybody. He's a nobody. Just a regular dark-skinned black guy walking around. In 5 years, the only name more powerful in Trinidad is his Lord Omnipotent. Garvey is bigger than big in Trinidad. So big. You will not believe the concept of money when you have economic power. There were two brothers, one from Grenada and the other from another small island that escapes me. They were members of the UNIA in Trinidad. They were deported. The government, the colonial government, tried to intimidate them, saying, "You'll be deported." Their answer is, "Deport me. I got a job waiting for me." Deport them. UNIA sends him to another location. This is what happens when you have your own money. We're not begging people. But this is it, the finest newspaper ever created. On that top, underneath the word "the," is that Sphinx. Yeah. Once Garvey learns about that Sphinx, he said, "My God." I mean, even if he couldn't believe it, he said, "This is incredible." He puts that Sphinx right in the middle of that newspaper.
You see it?
I mean, can you believe it? New Negro Steamship Company secures first ship for Africa. I mean, when that Frederick Douglass, when it landed in Cuba, after leaving the 135th Street port, the president of Cuba closed the country down. Everybody went to the port. Nobody could believe this. Some people thought they were dreaming. A black man could own a ship? You've got to be kidding. People decided to go on the ship and get married. They brought flowers, fruits. It was unbelievable. When that ship arrived in Panama, there was almost a revolution. They couldn't believe it. I said, "What is this?" And you have these fools in the United States, these black fools attacking Garvey, calling him the most dangerous man to the Negro. Come on. Here it is. This is why the first editor of the Negro World was Garvey. Garvey's an excellent writer. I mean, you know, he says it so well. You know what he says? The greatest men and women of the world burn the midnight lamp. You know, these kids who don't want to study, you can't go anywhere.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, there's no future. There's none. We can't even hire you. So the guy reads and studies. And over here. And then one more thing Garvey says. A reading man and woman is a ready man and woman. But a writing man and woman